Hello, this is Charles Austin Klein again for my second video that is bringing awareness to the human trafficking problem that's been going on in Vancouver and what's been happening in my experience of last summer of almost being trafficked. I first really want to acknowledge that I realize this is going to be hard information for lots of people to receive. It's going to be a hard realization that people were actively participating in this without full awareness of what was happening. I believe that people were involved that either thought this was some game, maybe training exercises. But I believe that there's a large portion of this group of people that were involved in this that did not realize that these people were being kidnapped by human traffickers. And that's hard. It's gonna be hard for people to accept that they were involved in this. And I get that. But that doesn't change the fact that that's what was going on. That is what was going on. That is what I experienced. And that is the only reason why you would be leading people into a parking lot like that. From the minute I would leave my house, I would be directed on where to go, what to do. And it really felt to me as if something had happened and there was an emergency that I needed to get to. And that when I got to the bottom of these parking lots, eventually somebody was going to show up to help to take me to where I needed to go to resolve whatever was happening. I didn't know what was happening, but I knew people were directing me. I could tell people were trying to get me to follow them. And it wouldn't be just one person that would walk by, it would be several. It would not even just several, it would be like 5 or 6 people that would walk by. One person even commented, "It's like Charlie's trying not to see the signs," as they walked past me. It's like Charlie's not trying to see the signs. That's somebody that knows me intimately, because I don't normally go by Charles. Charles is not the name that most people know me by, and that's not how I introduce myself. So for somebody to say it's like Charlie's trying not to see the signs, they would have had intimate knowledge of who I was. At least knowledge that the police would have, because of my name. My name is Charles Austin Klein. Charles Austin Paul Klein, to be specific. But I'm only ever called Charles by authority figures. So how would they know to say Charlie? It's like Charlie's trying not to see the signs. Because I was trying not to see the signs. I was trying to think that this wasn't actually happening, that these people were not trying to guide me, these people were not trying to get me to follow them. I kept trying to tell myself that's not what was happening, but it was so obvious that that's what was happening that I had to, and I did. I would eventually, after 5 or 6 people going by doing the same signals, doing the same motions, I would eventually start following them. And it would always lead to the same place, the bottom floor of a parking garage, where I'd sit and wait. I gave myself a rule, I would only wait for about 90 minutes, because if there was something urgent happening, it shouldn't take more than 90 minutes for somebody to get to me. So I just wasn't waiting long enough for these kidnappers to show up and get me. That's the only reason why I'm alive, is because I didn't sit in that basement long enough. Sit in those parking garages long enough for the kidnappers to show up. And like I said, there's only the one time that in the many weeks of me doing this that I saw a person in the bottom floor of a parking garage, and it was that Asian lady that was there for about 35 minutes with a young boy in a white car, and I believe she was the driver for the kidnappers that were doing the human trafficking, because there's no reason you would sit in your car or take 10 minutes with your trunk open just standing there to then take out her running shoes and change it over heels and go and sit in the driver's side and then sit there for another 15 minutes just watching me. I think that she was there to kidnap me, and I just didn't get close enough, or I had my dog with me and maybe she didn't want to take the dog, or she didn't want, who knows why she didn't do what she was supposed to do, but I believe that she was there with the human traffickers as part of the human trafficking. And there's been a human trafficking problem in Vancouver for a long time. My suspicion and my belief in what was going on is that a list was formed of unsavory or undesirable people in the community, so criminals or people that had bad reputations or had done something wrong, and these people were on a list that was not necessarily public knowledge, but awareness enough within within the community to who's on the list. So I don't believe there's only police officers guiding me, because there was just too many of them to be only police officers. I believe that there's a group of people that are involved in this, that are getting a list of names from the police department, from the top of the police force. And I believe my name found its way to the top of that list because I was making too much noise. I was asking for support after my sexual assault. I was going through Crime Victims Assistance Program, and I was asking them to send me to a treatment program, which could cost up to $90,000. In addition to the wage top-up I was also asking for, and the other support, the therapy and all the other support that I was asking for. It was just too much. So instead of paying for my over $100,000 worth of expenses, they figured they could make $80,000 off me by putting me on a list of people who get kidnapped. Take care of both things. Don't have to pay for my treatment, don't have to pay for my care after being sexually assaulted, which is what the Crime Victims Assistance Act is for. Like, nothing I was asking for was out of the scope of the act. Everything that I was asking for was within the scope of what was entitled to me through the act. But they're too worried about their money and their budget and trying to find ways to not provide the assistance that I desperately needed. So they figured it would be easier to just have me kidnapped, sent overseas in a sea can container somewhere in Asia or somewhere, who knows where they're sending these people. But I also know that I'm not the only one. I would definitely not be the only one that's been sent to the bottom of a parking garage. And if you live in Vancouver and you participated in signaling people into parking garages, then you were involved. You actively participated in human trafficking. I'm sorry to be the person to tell you this, but if that is something that you participated in, that's what you were doing. You're human trafficking. And that's going to be hard for people to accept. It's going to be easier for people to gaslight themselves and saying that they either didn't participate at all or that this isn't actually what's happening. Those people moved out of the city on their own accord, or they just left because they were tired of being harassed and they just left on their own. But those people did not leave on their own. They were kidnapped. And many of them lost their lives. Actually, probably all of them have lost their lives. They lost the lives they knew, at least. To be some sex slave or to be sold for parts. It brings me chills to think of what those people experienced, what I could have experienced. And I know I'm not paranoid. I know that the majority of the Vancouver police force all believe I'm a criminal and that I'm some undesirable in the community. They don't actually know that it's because of my complaint with the Human Rights Tribunal for the failure to investigate my sexual assault and to do with my claim with the Crime Victims Assistance Program. I think both of those things are what found my name to the top of this list. The combination of the two. I don't know why other people found their names on that list. Maybe they were criminals, but regardless, criminals don't deserve to be human trafficked. Nobody deserves to be put into, have their life taken from them like that. Because even if they didn't get killed right away, they lost the life they knew. And they were in a very scary experience. And nobody would have thought that it was the police force that was organizing this whole thing at the top of it. I think maybe no more than 5 people probably knew why I was on that list, the real reason. No more than 5 people would have known the real reason why I was on that list. Everybody else would have been lied to and told that I was a criminal, or that I had done something wrong, or that I was undesirable in the community. For my first 2 years living in Vancouver, I kept myself and I did self-work and I healed a lot of the trauma that I'd been through as a child and through growing up. And I reflected on myself and my thoughts and my actions, and they just chose the wrong person to try and target because I had become very stable in my mental health, and knowing that I was not just flying off without thinking about these things. I was not just following one person. I was following a very large group of people. On one of the nights near the beginning of this, I was sitting at the park on Bidwell and Beach. A Mustang drove up Beach, turned on Bidwell, went right behind me, sat there for a minute, and then drove away and went into the park, went into Stanley Park. I could see where the car had gone from where I was sitting. So it turned onto Beach and then onto Denman and then down again onto Beach on the one way into the Stanley Park. I then noticed probably about 3 people walking into the park as well at the same time. This is like 3 in the morning, by the way. It's pitch black, it's dark outside, nobody's around. Because Vancouver's a ghost town at the end of the night. Like at 3 in the morning, there's nobody on the streets. It's quite scary, actually. That a city of apparently 1 million people in it, and there's not a single soul on the streets at 3 in the morning. Especially in the West End. It is quiet. The only times it gets noisy is when there's fireworks or when something big is going on. That's when it can get a little bit noisy, but that's still always wrapped up by midnight. So back to the park, and the people I saw walking into Stanley Park at 3 in the morning, I followed them, see what was going on, walked just down a pathway, and I hate the park at nighttime. So the fact that I went in there was a reason. I didn't just do that of my own free will. I wanted to see what was going on. I wanted to get to the bottom of this. So I followed them all the way to 3rd Beach along the seawall in the dark. Went up to the parking lot. There was a car there. It was on, and I tried to open the door because I figured that it was there for me, but it was actually just people having sex. So I left. I went to see what was going on, if I could see any of the people that had been walking into the park earlier. And I did. I saw one of them, and he was walking back the other way. I tried to approach him and ask him what was going on. He just ignored me and acted like I wasn't even there. So I went back up to the parking lot to see what was going on. And the car with people having sex had left. And another car had pulled up, and it had parked opposite to the parking format. So all the cars were supposed to go vertically, and it was horizontally in the middle of the parking lot. Walked up to the car, there was nobody there. I saw that there was a teddy bear in the back seat, strapped in, which is odd. And then a man came out of the bushes with some bottles, apparently collecting them to put into his trunk. This man, I do know who he is, and he is a member of the Dr. Peter Center, and I could point him out very easily. I've seen him many times. He gets very uncomfortable when he sees me now. Told him what I was experiencing, what was going on, what I thought it was. He told me that I was wrong and that my assumption was inaccurate, and that there's an underground group of people in Vancouver that like to play games with other people. And they find amusement in confusing them and sending them in different places, and it's just a game that they play in Vancouver. And that I should ignore them and not follow them. That was his advice. And he got into his car and drove away. I believe this man was originally participating thinking he was helping the community, and then realized what was actually happening, and then stopped participating and tried to help me. And I don't believe he's continuing to participate. But I also believe he's being silent and not saying what he knows was going on and what he was experiencing, and that he knew about this list. I think lots of people in the West End of Vancouver knew about this list because, like I said in my last video, there was times that it felt like every single person in that community was after me. Not all the time, but definitely there were about a week there in end of July, beginning of end of June, July area. Between that it felt like everybody was trying to get me to follow them, trying to find out where I was going, what I was doing. I lost my apartment. I lost my apartment because Crime Victims Assistance didn't provide the assistance they should have, and I flat out told them that I was going to become homeless if they did not provide the assistance that they should be providing, and they didn't. They told me it was going to take 3 months to process my request, when I was telling them I was going to become homeless immediately if they didn't do something to help me. Which again, nothing I was asking for was outside of the scope of the Victims Support Act. I even sent the director of victim support a presentation about how AI could help them, and offering my assistance to help other people that are going through this to make the process faster and to ensure people are getting the assistance they needed. And I believe that presentation, or that I sent in, is part of the reason why I found my name on that list, because they didn't like my approach. And this is not about me promoting my business or my AI or anything like that. Don't look at my website, don't do anything, I don't care. That has nothing to do with this. This is about exposing the truth of what was going on and bringing awareness to the actions of the people in the Vancouver Police Department, and especially the high level people that were involved in this and that were organizing this list. Because like I said, I believe there's probably about 5 people, if that knew the true reason why my name found its way to this list and why I was being targeted, and I believe every single other person was lied to and just believed the lie. To believe the lie that I'm a criminal, that that I'm undesirable in the community, that I cause problems. I kept myself to watch YouTube videos on how to be a better person. That's what I was doing for 2 years. Fixing the stuff dealing with the trauma that I experienced as a child. The lack of love, the lack of support, the lack of actual true parenting. I had to reparent myself. Teach myself how to think and how to view the world. All with the help of motivational speakers on YouTube. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I couldn't find anybody that I wanted to be like, so I started to spend my time with motivational speakers on YouTube. Because that's what I wanted to be like. That's what I am like now. And I will not allow people being scared of being held accountable for their actions to destroy my life. I will not allow people's discomfort in now being aware of what they were doing stop me. They can be uncomfortable. They can realize that they were actively participating in having people human trafficked. Because like I said, this was a lot of people that were involved in this. There's a very large group of people involved in this. I believe a lot of them were police officers, but I don't believe all of them were. And I believe seeing these videos is going to be really hard for some of these people because it's all going to click. Oh my God, that's what we were doing. I had no idea. And if that's how you sleep at night, by telling yourself that you had no idea what was happening to these people in the garage, that you were leading into the basements of parking lots, then I guess that's how you're going to be able to live with yourself, that you had no idea. But where were they going? What was happening to them? Why were you doing it? And even if they are a criminal, they shouldn't be treated like that. And I know this is going to be hard for people to believe because my own mother doesn't really grasp the fact that this is actually happening and this is real. But I know what I experienced and I know what I went through and I know that I was not making things up. And I know there's been a human trafficking problem in Vancouver for a very long time, and this would make sense. Nobody would assume that the police force, anybody in the police force, would have anything to do with this. But they did. Vancouver City Police Department was involved in human trafficking. Whether they want to accept that or not, they were. It's the truth. And I know that there are going to be people that are going to see these videos and it's going to click. And do you know how you fix your karmic debt? Coming forward and telling the truth. Telling people what you did and how you participated. Being held accountable for your actions. That's how you fix your karmic debt. Because if you don't do something to fix it, do you know who gets to pay that karmic debt? Your children. Your children's children. Karma just doesn't go away because you die. If you don't pay your karmic debt, it gets passed on to your next generation. And then they have to pay for it. That's how karma works. So you need to think long and hard. If this is something that you want to pass on to your kids, or your kids' kids, or your kids' kids' kids, and they don't even know, didn't have anything to do with it, but they have to pay your karma because you're too scared to admit to your part in this and what you were participating in. This underground group of people that were human trafficking from a list compiled by the highest level of police. Like I'm talking the police chief, police sergeants, those people. I don't know how the hierarchy of the police force works, but the people at the top, they were the ones that were responsible for this. And then they fabricated information and disseminated that false information to the rest of the police force. It's scary, but it's true, and that's what was happening. And that's why Vancouver's a ghost town. If you walk around downtown with all the towers in the middle of the afternoon on a Wednesday, you'd think there'd be tons of people out on the streets going for lunch. It's not so. It's not like that. It's empty. Maybe they got carried away. Or it's a combination of multiple things that caused this to happen, but I think this is the primary reason. I think another part of the reason is the technology that they were testing in the area, in the West End. I think that played a part in it too. And I know what this technology was doing, and it's so scary I don't even want to talk about it. That if that stuff fell into the wrong hands, the damage that could be done. I want to leave that to the right people to provide that information, which is CSIS, Canadian Security Information Services. They are the right people to be bringing this to the public's awareness. They should have already done it. That's why I filed the complaint with the National Security Information Review Agency. The last thing, I just don't know how to deal with the doctors that lied. Tried to misdiagnose me on purpose because they're being forced to by the police, or they're being pressured to by the police, finding a way to keep me. This is not the story of a delusional man. This is the story of a man that is very aware of his mental health and just put the pieces together before anybody else could. Had my eyes open wide enough to see what was actually going on. I'm just gonna check the outline that I had for this story. Make sure I hit all the points. It's be hard for people to accept, Why it'll be hard for them? Because they had no idea what they were actually doing. Third Beach. Oh, the helicopter over Stanley Park searching for me all summer. Yeah, I would lose the people that were I would lose the trackers, and all of a sudden the helicopter would come out and start searching for me. And it would come and find me. Then the followers, people would come and find me too, and the helicopter would go away. If you ask anybody that lives in the West End, the helicopter spent a lot of time over Stanley Park last summer. And why was it doing that? Because it was looking for me. Because I was trying to hide from it. I was trying to hide from what was going on. I was trying to figure out what was going on, actually, not hide from it. In my complaint with the BC Human Rights Tribunal for remediation, I asked for 10 times the cost to the city to pull all this off. Because I'm a victim, so there should be no cost to the city. They shouldn't have been doing anything to me. I'm a victim, they should have been supporting me. But I know there was a cost to the city because that helicopter was out there quite a bit looking for me. I know people were paid on the police force. People were using their active time working to try and get me caught with these human traffickers, because I know some of these people that were directing me were police. And either they're volunteering their time or they were on duty. Based off of how much the helicopter was out and the manpower that would have been involved in this, it costs a lot. And they can try and burn all the evidence they want, and they can try and destroy all the evidence that they want, but there's going to be something. You can't get rid of it all. All the people that were participating that had no idea what was actually going on, thinking that this was just some game, they're just trying to scare people out of the community that shouldn't be there, or that they didn't want there, which is gross in itself. Just because you don't want somebody there doesn't, just because you don't like somebody doesn't mean you get to scare them out of the community. So many people participated in this. And I'm sorry that I'm the one that has to deliver this news, but it has to be delivered by somebody. And I guess I'm just that person that gets to put an end to this human trafficking issue in Vancouver. And I'm going to continue to post a new video every day, new information, new stories, new experiences, like not that I've just recently had them, but ones that I haven't shared before. Because I remember a lot of the things that happened. Did I get them all in order? No, probably not, because I couldn't even trust the time I was being told when I was out on the street. I'd ask somebody, they'd say it was 7 o'clock, and then walking away from that, I would hear somebody say it's not even 4 o'clock yet when they were talking to somebody else. And one day, within a few hours, I think I heard it was 9 a.m., 11 a.m., and 5 p.m. And I got back to the place I was staying, and it was not even 3 in the afternoon yet. That's classic gaslighting. That is a prime example of gaslighting. Mental manipulation. They tried to get me to convince that the man that I love had a daughter. He has a daughter. He has a daughter. I just kept hearing it over and over and over again. I don't think he has a daughter. But they sure tried to get me to believe he did. Because they were directly attacking my happiness, my joy. I had one guy, I was walking down the seawall, I had my head covered with a scarf because it was just too intense. And he tried mumbling something at me under my breath, and I just turned to him and said, "You know I'm being followed by a drone right now." And the girl he was with got really pissed off, put down the food she had and walked away and left him there. And he chased after her. It almost felt like I was like on the news to attack this guy. That's how many people were involved in it. Well, it's going to be on the news now for sure, eventually. It'll get to the right person, the right video. The video will hit the right set of ears, the right person will hear it, or somebody will feel guilty enough that they'll realize what they were doing and they're participating in human trafficking without knowing it, and they'll feel so guilty that they'll come forward and they'll say something. People, my story will be corroborated. It might take some time, but eventually somebody's going to come forward and say that I'm right and that this is what's happening. Or explain their part in what they were doing to help validate my story. I tried to take evidence, I tried to take videos, I tried to take pictures, I tried to do all those things, but my phone kept getting stolen, my bag would be stolen, my laptop was stolen, my van was tagged for a final notice for needing, like, it's going to be towed, and then it got 3 tickets, and then it was towed. And the final notice looked like it was printed on a piece of paper, like on a printer that was running out of ink. Oh, and my van wouldn't start. Wouldn't even try and turn over. My suspicion was somebody put something in the gas tank. I had looked under the hood and there was wires that were disconnected, and I managed to reconnect the ones that I found. But even when I went to the impound to try and pick up my van, it wouldn't start, couldn't jump it to a start, wouldn't do anything. And there's just so many other things going on that when you're worried about shelter, food, safety, those are the only things you can think about. When you take those things away from somebody, you've taken everything away from them, pretty much, at that point, because that's all they can think about. If you don't have a home to sleep in, all you can think about is where am I going to sleep tonight. If you don't have food in your fridge, all you can think about is where I'm going to get my next meal. It's just the way it is. It's the human body, it's the human brain, it's the way that these machines operate. If you take away their basic needs, their essential needs to function, that's all they can think about. Which is what they were trying to get me to do, so I didn't put everything together. But I still did. And I just hope that this is somebody, I hope the right person sees this video sooner than later. Because I've been believing this world is round for long enough, going against all the doubters, all the haters for long enough, and I know that this world is round, and I know that this is what was going on. I believe it was Galileo that discovered the world was round, and he had to sail all the way around the world with everybody doubting him, knowing that he was right. And I'll continue to keep sailing around this world, knowing that I'm right, until somebody else finally steps forward. I'm not giving up on this, because I know that this is what was happening. Have a good day.